Okay, so this brings us to the last domain in the Child Status Index, which is education and work. For Michael, being just a few months old, this is a bit less relevant, but we can assess whether a younger child is played with, whether they respond appropriately to their carers, things like that. Now, we don't have any way of checking that at the moment because Michael's in hospital and we've only just met him. So I've put unknown, no need to assess in placement. I've given it a 3 because a 4 means it's all fine, and we do need to check that. And our goal is to place Michael in a safe environment allowing interaction with a carer. Since we have our ABLE staff, our first task is to connect our ABLE staff with whoever his carer ends up being to provide support in their future interactions. And we're going to go done because that's our final domain. So now we land on the review of our initial assessment. And so Michael's situation, as you can see, is not great. A lot of reds and yellows, and really only the one blue down on social behaviour. So every one of these domains has a reason and a goal attached to it, and most of them have a task. Now, you'll see that in 1A and 1B, we have a red 2 and a yellow 2. This is because the colour coding we use as a measure of urgency for follow-up, whereas the scores are associated with concrete outcomes for the children. In 2, in food security, a 2 in food security is a pretty dire thing. It means that the child is going to bed hungry quite often. Whereas a 2 in nutrition and growth, although it's still bad, can have some slightly slower follow-up if necessary. So this is the reason for the different colorings. Broadly speaking, for us, a red is this is urgent and needs to be addressed immediately. A yellow means this is a problem and needs to be addressed quickly but not immediately. A blue means that something can probably be observed, and if it gets worse, action needs to be taken, or if it doesn't get better, action needs to be taken, but there's not necessarily any action required now. And although Michael doesn't have any greens, a green would mean this is on track and we're okay to proceed. So because we've completed, we're now sitting in our assessment review. If I go back to our assessment history, you remember that this was the screen where we began our assessment, and we've just completed our initial assessment. He has a 6-monthly review due on March 16th of next year. We can't begin that now. The assessments only become live as they're due, but we can view this report and have a look at it, and it will remain editable for a little while. So this gives us our first bit of information. If we go back to our assessment history, and then we can go back again, this will take us back to Michael's page. And you'll see that we've got some numbers over here now. We've completed 1 assessment, and there are 11 live tasks relating to Michael's situation. If we click in here, we'll see that we have Michael's name at the top, and then the tasks are divided up into what's due today, what's due in the future, and what's overdue. And so these things will move as the days go by. We would hope that something like ensuring access to baby formula never finds its way into the overdue tasks, because the child needs to be eating now. We can also add new tasks at this point, but these are all laid out nice and easy to read, and I'll show you how you can mark them as completed in a minute. You can delete them, but in terms of keeping them in the case management process, we wouldn't be using delete to mark a task as complete. Delete would be only for use if a task was entered in error and didn't need to be completed. We could arguably delete the tasks associated with 3A and 3B because those were so similarly related to the tasks for 2A and 2B, which was to contact emergency care staff, that there was no point continuing to enter the same information. So we could potentially delete those, but I'm going to leave them there for now. And we're going to go back to Michael's homepage.